What is up, guys? Welcome to Supercars of London. Welcome to the next day of madness. We have driven from Spa and we are now at the Nürburgring on this scorching day, 26 degrees, blue sky, not a cloud in the sky. And in the UK, it is a bank holiday, meaning that there are a lot of Brits that have come over here, made the pilgrimage to come to the Nürburgring. That's a Corvette there, Archie. So we are going to check out what is going on the track. We're going to go for a bit of lunch around here before driving down to Stuttgart, where we've got a 4-hour drive, and in those 4 hours we're going to do our best at telling you some of the secrets about the Ford GT which we have not actually yet been able to tell you. So let's hop over this barrier here, my C63 somewhere over there, and let's see what's going on. Usually we like to head over to this bit. It's normally a public car park, but today for some reason there's tents and loads of other bits up, and there is an abundance, an absolute abundance of BMWs and Porsches going around. But what I love is the atmosphere of all of these car guys that have parked their cars up there, cooking barbecues, having a few drinks, chilling out with their mates. Maybe they'll go and do a bit of the track later on, but just chilling out. And this is a really quiet area. We've come to a quiet area, but you can go to a super busy area. I can hear music over there, like it's like a festival. It's incredible. And again, another BMW and another a GT. Oh yeah, the TTRS has gone round the outside. Proof that the GT4 is slower than an old TTRS.
Don't go and take that. Shit.
And as we leave, a bloody Performante drives round. God, they sound good. You can hear it from a mile away. I was like, oh, V10's coming round. And lo and behold, a Rosso Mars Performante. Let's get to the Nürburgring headquarters. See if there's anything. See if there's anything tasty there. Was it the last time that we were here doing this bit of the road?
We saw the GT2RS.
When we were following the GT2RS. GTR, good start.
Nice. And this is the petrol station where everyone fills up.
Yes.
So there's normally some crazy stuff there.
Yeah, we got Queen Bee on the... right, that's... I don't know anything about BMWs, but that looks
the
very
same.
Similar. Anything...
Oh, it's the XJR 575 Jaguar race taxi thing.
That petrol... Oh, that Gen 2 GT3. That petrol station must make a fortune! Is that a real R8 GT? If it is, that looks like a real one. Classic.
Nice.
That is such a typical Nürburgring car. And followed by another typical Nürburgring car.
GT3 M2.
I was doing there.
Yeah, it was.
Is that TTRS?
Yes, look at that, that's the spec.
That's
the spec.
Oh, is that a good look? There's noises everywhere. GT3RS on the track.
Yes.
I think we got a little bit overexcited, as has everyone else here. This weekend has been a total motorsport epic. And it is complete carnage. We're stuck in traffic in places I've never seen traffic. Oh, film that. That is the best M3 I've ever seen. Look at that colour. Reno car.
Classy spec and no tents.
We had a very sort of eye-opening last 48 hours with Ford. So over the next little straight that we've got, I thought that we'd take that opportunity to talk about 5 secrets that I have not read or seen in YouTube videos. And this was always the plan. We were always going to do 3 videos, but why not come to the Nürburgring first? Because the GT3 is everywhere. There's another one coming up here.
There we go.
I think that's the 68th that we've seen today. Whilst we hit the Autobahn, I feel like the Ford GT, we had a bit of fun, did the McDonald's drive-through. We had some sort of emotional level, an emotional attachment to the car when I drove it for the first time. But there are some interesting things about the story and the history of the Ford GT that I feel need telling. And if you've already heard of some of it, then you've probably dug deeper than most people.
A lot deeper.
Where do you reckon what's a good starting point?
I think we start at the start.
Okay. Project Silver. Let's start there.
The code word.
The code word for what was supposed to be Ford returning to Le Mans after 50 years, with their sole goal and sole purpose was to win and beat Ferrari at Le Mans. The Ford GT started life as a Mustang, and Ford went through a lot of different processes to try and homologate the car to race in Le Mans, and I think they went through 38 different waivers to try and get it signed off. And by that point, one of the main engineers and developers of the current GT basically said you'd have to squint so tightly, there's a 12C Spider here, to even make out that it was the remnants of a Ford Mustang. Like, it just didn't look like
a Mustang anymore.
They had to get the aero so spot on the front end that the Mustang just didn't have it. Project Silver got put in the bin. Project Phoenix started midway through 2014.
It's insane.
Phoenix being the return from the ashes, and that was when the GT was born. Their aim was they were going to build a bespoke car that in turn became the Ford GT, and it looks how it looked today. But the fact that they started that project in secrecy, like the entire design team of Ford had no idea that there was a team of around 10 to 12 people working on this car.
Yeah, they were working in secret in a basement at Ford HQ.
Yeah.
And the way to get into the room, it wasn't
No, you can't tell that. Project Phoenix started in middle of 2014, and they launched the car at Detroit in 2015, and then they went on to win Le Mans in 2016. All of these points will circle back to the fact that Ford were obsessed with Le Mans, to the point where the entire car is designed for that circuit. And I mean, obviously it's successful amongst other circuits. It won at Spa. Every single fact and every single element on that car is built purely to reduce the drag so that it could go as quickly as possible at Le Mans, because everyone knows Le Mans got crazy straights. Moving on to point number 2, which I kind of wasn't expecting to do, but point number 2 is V6 versus V8.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that Ford and Ford Performance are mainly V8s of the 5 to 10 years ago.
Yeah,
like the Mustang,
legendary
V8s, legendary. In the Ford GT, the 2005 one, and of course in the Le Mans winning car, they were V8s and they were amazing engines, but slightly heavy. When Ford decided to put this V6 engine, EcoBoost V6 engine, into the car, it wasn't because they thought that they wanted to annoy everyone because they weren't putting a V8 in. It was all down to do with aero, packaging, weight, and the fact that they could produce X amount of brake horsepower. The C63 has just gone straight past me, and past everyone else.
He's going for it.
Yeah, he has. It made the car lighter, it enabled them to create the aerodynamics that are on the car and make it very narrow. Those huge holes in the back is not to make the car look pretty or futuristic on the road. Whilst it does that, it's secondary to the function that it is aero and to reduce the drag. Following on from the engine, which isn't really like a secret, but what was amazing was speaking to really quite high people in Ford, talking about the interior, because it is one thing that everyone picks up on. When you sit inside the car, you are rubbing shoulders with the person next to you, you're holding hands when you're putting the seatbelt in. It's hilarious, but there is a reason to it. But let's start with the width of the two seats next to each other. Ford wanted to find the narrowest cockpitted car that have got the seats squashed together, because they thought, well, if those guys can put up with it, then so can our customers. So they went and measured a bunch and ton of different cars, and it came back that the Lotus Elise, classic Lotus, had the sort of shortest distance between the two seats. So Ford go, okay.
Which you kind of expect, because the Lotus is a tiny car.
Exactly. But Ford, being obsessed with aerodynamics, being obsessed with reducing drag, and being obsessed with winning Le Mans, pitted their car against the 488 in terms of their front mass of the car. They needed to make it as narrow as possible in terms of the cockpit as well. So whilst the front of the car is quite wide, we're talking about the entire front end that wind is going to go over. and that includes the cockpit.
Yeah.
The Ford being 1.85 meters squared, whereas the Ferrari 458 was over 2 meters squared.
Yep.
So it actually made a huge difference, and there is an actual reason, again, complete function to why those seats are so close together. The entire car and the shape of it has forced those seats together, but it is no closer together than a Lotus Elise. Everything in that car, there is a purpose for it. Apart from the cup holders, they did that because they needed it. It's a little bit of a secret that the Ford GT actually has cup holders. It is a very, very, very practical car. It has got a comfy suspension setting which you can push there, and then you've got cup holders which are down in the passenger footwell, which are on this side because it's a left-hand drive car. And they're down here where, when I did the McDonald's drive-through, I had no idea where they were. But they are forged out of aluminium, so they're machined out of a block of aluminium and put in the car, which is just nuts if you think about it.
They have the same ethos as the car. They're lightweight, they're strong.
Yeah,
Ford
and
GT
bloody
is a very strong
expensive.
car.
Now the fifth and final fact is quite a good one. Ford, being American, you kind of expect that entire car was built in America. But there is a lot that is actually British. Let's talk about the headlights, which come from a company in Redditch. Now the headlights in itself became a project as big as the car, because the way that Ford wanted those headlights to be designed, every single supplier that they went to, they were like, that cannot be done. And then when people said, yes, it can be done, Ford then told them they only need 250 pairs per year. And they're like, no, it can't be done.
The development cost would be astronomical.
Exactly, until this company in Redditch that came forward and said, yeah, I reckon we could do that. I reckon we could do that. They built an entire design studio specifically for these Ford GT headlights, and they are rumoured to be costing around £20,000 per pair. The materials in the interior also came from the UK as well, so the Alcantara, the leathers, everything to do with the interior came from a company in Essex. And I have to say, they did a very good job because the quality of the materials is pretty good. I've now been in 2 Ford GTs, and I can say that they're very comfy, but also they feel really nice to touch.
They feel premium.
So a company in Essex supplied all of the materials for the interior of the Ford GT, and then we move on to like the digital cluster display, the pedal box, and also the steering adjustment comes from a company in Derby. Ford haven't really got the greatest parts bin when you're trying to build a Ford GT.
No, they had to go completely bespoke on the dash. There's no other car which uses a dash capable of...
Exactly. When you flick it from normal to wet to sport to track to VMAX, everything changes.
Yeah.
And it becomes a completely different dial and a completely different visual, which was super impressive as it is. But the electronic components that this company also produced from Derby are for the suspension dampeners, they are for other things that I've completely forgotten. So Ford, I apologise because you did spend a lot of time explaining to me.
But lots of important things.
But I believe that there is 8 electronic components that manage certain aspects of the Ford GT that have been manufactured and built by the same company in Derby that did the digital cluster display.
The Ford GT is like a supercar manufactured by a small independent company with the humongous financial backing of Ford.
Yeah. And there were a lot of times when they said, yeah, that's off the record. Like, there's some really, really cool conversations. We met some amazing people and fundamentally had an amazing time with the Ford GT, so much so that it is way in the past. I mean, it was yesterday and we're still talking about it on the way down to Stuttgart. Over the next 3 hours or so, I'm probably just going to be replaying the videos in my head of just what an experience that car is. And since that video has gone live, I've actually spoken to Tim, Shmee150, and we've both been sharing our passion around just how cool that car is, how much it means to both of us, because I failed to mention actually that it was me and Tim that flew out from the UK. And we saw the unveiling of the Ford GT. It was actually a really weird group if you think about where we've come now. It was me, it was Tim, and it was Rory Reid. And now look at us. Now me and Tim are still on YouTube and Rory's on Top Gear. So let's carry on, get down to Stuttgart, check this place out, and get ready for what is going to be quite a ridiculous next couple of days as I start coming to grips and, pardon the pun, get into grip with 600 brake horsepower.
Or not grip.
Or not grip, we'll see.